You know that feeling when someone breaks a promise to you? That sting of betrayal? Or, hey, maybe you've been on the other side, making a promise that was really tough to keep. Well, today we're going to dive into two stories from completely different corners of the world that show us just how powerful and, frankly, how dangerous a single promise can be.
It's a great question, right? Because on the surface, absolutely nothing. One's this kind of grim medieval story about, well, rats. The other is this huge, sprawling saga about immortal cultivators and demons. But believe it or not, deep down, they're built from the exact same stuff, the same narrative DNA. And you can really see that contrast here. In one corner, you've got the town of Hamelin, just a normal place with a very public and very gross rat problem. And in the other corner, the Donging Prefecture. We're talking mystical lands, ancient bloodlines, cosmic power, the whole shebang. Totally different worlds, but they're connected by one single powerful thread. And that thread, it's the promise. It's really the engine that gets the whole story started. It doesn't matter if it's some big public announcement or just a quiet vow between two people. The moment a promise is made, it immediately tells us what's at stake. It shows us what this story is really about.
A lot of times, a promise is basically just a public contract, right? It's super clear, super straightforward, all done out in the open. Hey, we've got a problem and we'll give a reward to anyone who can fix it. Simple as that. It's a deal meant to get things back to normal for everyone.
And here's a perfect example. The mayor of Hamelin, he's totally backed into a corner. So he makes this public offer to save the town. 100 gold coins. It's specific, you can count it, and he says it in front of everybody. 100 coins. Keep that number in your head because it's going to be important. But see, a promise doesn't always need an audience. Sometimes it's just a whisper or a signature on a piece of paper. It can be this deeply personal thing that basically weaves two people's lives together forever. And in our other story, Demon Hunter, we see this exact thing with an engagement contract. When Mens Chen, this ambitious young cultivator, signs it, he's doing way more than just agreeing to get married someday. He's making a serious vow to Lin Yu. He's promising to tie his fate, his entire future, his protection, all of it, to hers. Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. What happens when these promises get put to the test? Because, let's be honest, a promise is only as good as the person making it, right? And in both these stories, that integrity is about to go head-to-head with some classic human flaws, greed and ambition. And this is the breaking point. For the mayor, it's just plain ugly greed. The rats are gone, problem solved, so why bother paying up? But for Meng Chen, it's a little more complicated. He is so consumed by his ambition, his drive to become this powerful saint, that he starts seeing his promise to Lin Yu as an obstacle. His own goals start to become way more important than the vow he made.
And this is where our two stories crash right into each other. Because in any great story, a broken promise is never just a small thing. No way. It's like lighting a fuse. It's the spark that sets off a disaster. And there is always, always a terrible price to pay. Just one gold coin. After promising 100, the mayor offers the piper a single, measly, insulting coin. I mean, this isn't even a negotiation anymore. It's a massive insult. It's basically spitting on the piper's skill and telling him his word, the mayor's word, is worth nothing.
And the payback? It's methodical, and it is absolutely devastating. The piper's revenge is a perfect mirror of his service. He comes back, he plays a different tune, and the town's debt gets paid. Not with gold, though. It's paid with its future, with every single one of its children.
Now, Meng Chen's failure wasn't some public act of greed. It was a private thing, a crisis of commitment, but the result? Just as catastrophic. His focus was slipping. He was debating whether to break his promise, and that created this one fatal moment of weakness. And in his world, a moment is all a monster needs.
So at the exact moment that Meng Chen is lost in his own ambition, Lin Yu's powerful Phoenix bloodline awakens, and it leaves her completely vulnerable. And boom, the Dragon Master, the villain of the story, he jumps on that chance. Because Meng Chen's commitment was shaky, his power to protect her just vanished. He failed, and Lin Yu was captured and transformed into an egg. Her very being is stolen away.
And the horror of it all really hits home with what the Dragon Master says next. He's talking to Lin Yu, who is trapped, transformed, and he claims the very future that Meng Chen had promised her.
So that personal promise, it wasn't just broken by Meng Chen not acting. It was literally stolen and twisted by the bad guy. So when you take a step back, what do these two totally different stories really teach us? Well, they show that a promise isn't just some handy little plot device. It's the moral backbone. It's the actual structure that holds a great story together. You could almost call it the narrative promise. It's this deal, this pact that sets up expectations for everybody. It shines a spotlight on a character and shows you who they really are and what they really care about. And when that promise gets broken, the world of the story just gets thrown into chaos. And that chaos doesn't end until that debt is paid, one way or another. So at the end of the day, a promise in a story really does four key things. First, it creates the stakes, right? The kids in Hamlin, Lin Yu's life. Second, it reveals who people really are. The mayor's greed, Meng Chen's shaky ambition. Third, it represents the order of things, whether that's social or personal, that's now under threat. And finally, breaking that promise is what pushes the story towards its final, inescapable, and yeah, often tragic end. So I want you to think about the stories you love. I mean, from huge battlefield oaths to those quiet promises made on a deathbed, they're all built on this foundation of promises, some kept, some broken. So what's one that's always stuck with you? And now, thinking about it, can you see how that one single promise was the real engine that drove that whole story forward?